all started because
there's a microphone on that camera. Is the problem? Okay, we're good.
All right. Another piece, but
I think this was Alex.
Yeah.
okay.
So
Let me try to ping him and see if he's on.
Thanks, man. So we had a discussion with respect to, I think it was deleting volumes or deleting, no, snapshotting. Snapshot. Right. Okay.
First is
Oh yeah, it's turned off by default.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Nobody, so that on the group, nobody does it. That teaching text is disabled by default. The policy file, we have the group, nobody is disabled. So now the question is, now we have more and more servers that have CG. It tends now to. Whether we should now,
In my opinion, it's not a core API function, especially since the reference driver can't do it.
I tend to agree that it's not going to work for most people.
It doesn't hurt anything, does it?
Because typically, whatever you get, if you call press CG when you're back in school.
Policy doesn't allow.
Yeah. So
We're using extensions.
yeah, I mean, right now, if you turn on like using like Cinder V2 type, like Cinder help, you see all the commands there. You just try and do them, just get an error. Like, I don't think we really gain anything by having it turned off by default, right? Otherwise, you'll try and call it, you'll get an error that says that the volume. It's like where the error is coming from, I guess. Right?
The problem is that if I recall what will happen, if you go that route, you turn it on, you install it, what's going to happen is your volume is going to go to the university.
Right.
Also, the difference is right now, if you do try and call that API call, the policy doesn't have any, you do, at least you used to, get an error message that says not enabled by policy.
Gotcha.
So, to me, that seems like
A little better error message.
But my question is, what do you get if you try and press CG on an LVN volume function? Do you get?
No, you can use the driver now. The, I thought that,
No, LVN has changed, but.
no, I actually have a that I did it that I can actually dig out.
Okay, I'm taking LVN as a driver through.
Yeah, now that I'll be in.
Or step, whatever version you want to use. Whatever.
But I'm saying the other APIs like that too, right? The other APIs.
Yeah, but I'm saying what is the situation?
Oh, but now.
I wonder if we know the better plan.
But Mike, once we have the error message, we can say why it's thought that the API error when we get that call and it fails to get the exception back from the driver.
No, it's not even choose that.
When you're kind of on the create part. That's good.
We'll get it.
That's currently if you create
Okay. I'm on the mute. Okay. Should be back on now.
Well, so it should be pretty easy to do that actually, just because the drivers have to report that they support it. So you can just add a check, schedule it or check it, and see actually.
Yeah, but the schedule is too late. That's the thing. I wanted the API level so the user gets a message saying, well, you can be not by this volume charge, rather than that. Yeah, the same problem we've got here. The schedule is too
They
late.
just peek in at the API.
Yeah, I think it's the volume charge. And it is, yeah, the count number, can we do that to CG? Can you explain?
Well, there's no volume type to look at for CG.
So currently, the way multi-task works is that you have a flag at volume creation type level, right? So Duncan was suggesting that he wants to add an additional check in the API such that the volume type actually has to have it enabled as well. And then, so we would do that check against that as well as the volume drivers backing cases that are being.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that stops early.
If in the volume type, you have to say CG equals enabled or something like that, volume type. Again, the API can say CG is not enabled in volume type. And normal users who don't want CG don't know what to do.
So then now, that matters actually not it was so not added. It was removed in the code reviews. That was instead, and then we removed that. So do you want to add? I don't have a problem with adding that. I actually want you to add that.
I would prefer that.
Okay. So
So are we saying that any optional feature should be reflected in the volume type? So we have to check it.
No.
Just the drift.
Yeah, so I've already
Right, so we're just talking two.
that's okay.
Yeah, replication.
Not all the time.
I don't think it is.
That's great.
That's the only way to check from the API, but you can't query the driver from the API.
You don't do stuff.
And the schedule.
Well, the drivers report the
volume
volume
type,
type,
so
so-
subset volume potential drivers demand.
But, to your point,
But if there are, do we have any capacity?
I'm just worried about people who already got volume.
That's what I'm on.
And they're already using CG. I think that's where you have to put this element is service level here.
so that's
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
So,
So is it just replication CGs multi-attached? Or
What for capabilities?
The optional feature. For the big user.
so we're saying the drift of this is that all of those would need to be reflected in volume types, so that the API can inspect the volume types and fail early.
well, it doesn't
Or it's
have to,
created the object.
so it doesn't have to be that difficult. So what we were just talking about, I mean, the first thing is does our proposal for the messages, the tasks and stuff, does that solve this? So that we don't have to worry about it.
So you let it go into error state.
Yeah, you let go
But
of
you know
everything,
why.
but you know why. It's better.
It's better, but I think it's not quite good enough.
So the next thing is, do we tweak the way we do some things and say, hey, instead of, taking, for example, a create or a delete call and just fire and forget, do we first have a preliminary thing that goes out, sure that we can actually satisfy that call, and then come back and then decide based on that, okay, now we blocked up until this point. Now, do we respond with an error message, or do we just go ahead and fire off the call?
So those checks would run down all the way to the driver through the scheduler.
I don't
But skip capacity checks and stuff like that.
the schedule will do. And we said, do we have that schedule responding to?
Yeah, it just needs to go to the scheduler Well, then it's
No.
it's got
It's gonna be erased, right?
So my argument there is, I think for stuff like this, it's not 100%, it's not foolproof, right? But I think for stuff like this, there's no reason why you couldn't have cache capability information at the API layer and just do it there and not have to go anywhere else. We would have to be disciplined and careful about what we allow.
You don't want stuff that's bottled, capacity or anything like that.
You just want basic things like capability.
Well, wait a minute. When we eventually, when Alex's plan to return useful errors, why is my volume not working? And we get this for free.
No,
what I just said.
No, we get an explanation of why it failed, but it still fails late and fails. I mean, I think it's a huge improvement.
What is the sense of showing some of their So wait, hold on.
No, you still have volume error.
I think we're looking at the
Here's, here's the problem. Here's the other side of the coin, the other argument is, you guys want to have a REST API or not?
Yeah.
Well, then you know what? You create it, it goes to the error state, you have a way to figure out why. That's
So-
the answer.
So you guys, hang on. So we're talking about a lot of like, what if you try to do this and it's not supported? And isn't the whole point of the policy so that if it's not supported in your cloud, that they're supposed to turn it off, right? The question came up was whether we should default it on or off.
Right.
Right? We're not going to like take away that mechanism. So it's like, I don't think that we really have to. The only time that you're going to try and create one and it's going to be an error is when they're setting up the cloud and doing like a functionality check or something, right?
Totally true. If you've got two volume types, one supporting one version, and two volume types is actually a question I think customers do.
Yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with policy configuration, right? You're not going to turn off this policy.
This whole does the user get sensible feedback at some point?
This is different.
That's a different argument.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just whether to turn that on in the policy. It's currently turned off to turn it on.
My argument for leaving off by default is that the naive user doesn't get a sensible error message.
I don't even know why this is a debatable topic. Look, if the reference implementation doesn't do it, it's not on by default.
Right.
Or yeah, I mean, if references are like majority or
Right now,
however we want to do that. Right?
implementation takes
You did that on purpose.
It's a big smile. He's on the line. He's on.
I don't know, that's still how I feel about it. I still feel the same way, but it's not.
So even if we have it default off, there's still another case where if you turn it on and somebody tries to create a consistency group with two conflicting volume types that can't get scheduled, that goes to error. That's still crappy. I guess then, that's the more of a corner.
Then your admin screwed up, right? I mean,
And they need to turn it on.
How about we leave
necessarily.
it off until he's ever stuff you, and then we turn it off?
Yeah, fair enough. It's all right.
That's what you guys.
Is that what you do?
I'm all right.
You're gonna merge that like next week.
A couple.
Everyone has to utilize
so the other thing that
Just
we keep
something.
forgetting about, it's actually kind of relevant too, maybe somebody mentioned this, but in the case of multi-backends, all of this shit doesn't matter anyway, we broke it anyway, right? Because, okay, so, hey, I've got array foo and array biz, and array foo does CGs, so I turned it on in the policy. Well, guess what? There's nothing to keep you from trying to do that same.
That's a tough one.
That's right, or in your cloud.
That's why bringing the type works, because
Yes, that's why I think replication, CGs, all this stuff, they should have all been abstracted volume type things. Said that forever.
Yes, that's what we were just talking about at the beginning.
And then everybody said, well, volume types are too hard, and it's too arduous for admins to figure out how to type in the extra steps, so we can't do that.
So consistency
But
groups,
maybe we're rethinking.
they're tied to volume
That'd be
types.
cool.
Maybe we need an extra specs V2.
So we can't now because we have the freaking
but maybe new things have
API
to.
out there, so.
Well, that's just
Well,
where we were ahead of that.
Certainly not for multi-category then.
So,
We can pick multi-cat for one, and then maybe for everything new that gets added, that's
oh
similar.
God, please, yes. That makes sense. I would love that.
So remove
Those
flag.
are general features of merge.
Hope the checking that we're saying is
Well,
the application.
no, I agree with you.
Yeah, I know. And what I'm saying is,
I mean, you could
relax, and everybody's then you come out and say, okay, we should, make an API. I don't know. I mean, that's, so volume types for me have always been the experimental API.
Please do. I can't do that one.
Because you can do anything you want. You can make your drivers do anything you want from a volume type. So kind of cool.
Hey Jay,
Busy home mistake.
are you done taking notes?
He was taking notes from that.
He burned out.
I was trying to follow, and then it was just like, what the hell's going on? It seemed like there were, yeah. Your turn, Scott. Are you doing it?
I can do it.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
I got pulled into something else over here.
Yeah, put an initial on that, Alex. On the out.
If I steal my name, I'm the only Alex. They're all Alexander and whatnot.
HPL.
We do need multi-touch, so it's something that you just change. What the thing you're supposed to do.
Add a check in the API against the volume type or something. And the capabilities check is kind of a massage the, actually what I did was massage the volume type up and shut that flag in there. Capabilities check.
Your wording's very odd.
It's almost, if I remember it correctly.
Is that action item for consistency groups or multi-attach?
Consistency.
Yeah.
Unless you want CG.
I added a multi-touch.
It's already kind of there for consistency groups as far as creating a volume goes. But
Yeah, but to get
to create the consistency group, yeah. You'll end up with a broken screen.
Are we under the force flag?
Well, I gave up trying to explain the point that I was trying to make. So, when you create a snapshot today with a volume that's attached, you're forced to add a flag, say force, recognizing that you might not be getting what you think you're getting at the end of the day, right? With the data, because there's outstanding I/O, and it might not actually exist on your snapshot in your backend, right? So in order to do a snapshotting with CG, we secretly hide the fact that we add the force flag all the time. The same problem still exists with the data problem, right? So I kind of sort of I wasn't aware that API was out there already, but it's an inconsistency, right? Because if you go through Horizon and you try and do a snapshot, it gives you a big giant warning saying, hey, blah, 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 make sure you know what you're doing, the force, and then go forward, right? I want that same capability for CG as well, just to be consistent.
See, I've always thought this was a really strange thing that we have this for snapshots, because it's not an incredibly dangerous thing to have a crash consistent snapshot. I think that's a pretty reasonable expectation for people to have. And seeing how core of a feature snapshots are to Cinder, I don't really know why we ask people to put a force flag on them to ever. I would agree. Because I think we're trying to fix something in a very strange way when I think most people that use this kind of stuff can understand what a crash consistent snapshot is.
Well, one answer is it's an existing API, and
But that doesn't mean we should use it as an example for another.
well, consistency is sometimes better than.
And also,
So,
well, I would agree with that.
Stuff that makes
So-
sense.
Sometimes.
So I think that, so I agree with Eric's point, but I also, the other thing is, when you're dealing with consistency groups, if your backend can or can't do real CG snapshots, or if they're crash consistent, or whatever, then that's something you should document. This is how it works, and this is what you should expect. I don't think we should make an option for every single condition that's possible. You know what I mean?
So the problem that I thought existed, I could be wrong, was that at the time when you do the snapshot, there's still going to be I/O that's buffered on the server. That's not necessarily on the array yet. And that was, from my understanding, the reason why we had the force flag to begin with.
Well, some of us would disagree with that force flag. I think that's why the force flag came into play. I don't necessarily think everybody agreed that we needed it or it should be there. The other thing is, so the problem I have is when you're dealing with consistency groups, the whole point of having a consistency group and taking a snapshot of them is to take a snapshot of a running system, right? That's the whole point. So now you're saying, hey, you can do that, but you have to add this minus step plan, which I don't get. I don't understand.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to make sense. I mean, this is just basic storage stuff.
It is basic storage stuff, but from my perspective, the way I see it, it's the same problem with snapshotting a single volume versus snapshotting a group of volumes that you have to be putting into a CG. But you still have those I/O.
I think the single volume example is terrible, though. I don't think it makes any sense the way it is.
Okay, so then that goes to the second half of my argument, is that the API is inconsistent, which I don't really see.
Let's deprecate force
So,
on snapshot.
I would agree with you that API inconsistency is ugly and everything. Fine, I'm totally going to agree. What I would say is, rather than perpetuate the problem in the name of consistency, that we should, in the next version of the API, take away the stupid force flag on a snapshot. Just have everything be the same. And I think we should document and say, hey, and we've talked about this before, right? In Cinder, this is what a snapshot means. It's crash consistent. It don't expect to be real-time, pause I/O.
Okay. I would be fine with that.
Okay. What about the force flag on backup?
I think the force flags are all stupid. I hate
I think
them.
I even said
I think
that
they suck.
on the backup reviews. I think I tried that.
So
It's just weird.
I think it's bad on backup. I think it's bad all the way around. The only thing that ever made any sense was like force delete and stuff like that. But we made those actual admin API calls. We didn't say, oh, we'll just add a force flag to the delete call, right? I mean, force flags are kind of silly. Oh, do you really want to do this? What are we, Microsoft?
Especially when the force case is probably for a lot of people the common case that they want.
Like, everybody just automates it and they just write it. They just write it in anyway, and they just use it all the time.
Is that a disaster? Like,
No, it's not a disaster.
Is it worth changing our API for? An API change has a cost.
Well, it is if we're going to argue about every new API, but there's not a force flag.
What I'm saying is we are going to, at some point, do another API, right? And when we do, this is the kind of thing that we should address. The last API change that we did, we didn't change anything. We didn't change anything. We copy and pasted the code over and changed some of the semantics on how it did things. We should probably not do that. Should actually put some thought into it. Make progress. That's my thought. I think
But do we keep the current API version consistent, including the CGs?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
So you're saying when we do a next API, we'll move that from snapshot, we'll move that from backup. Fine, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
For the current API version, do we have a force flag for CGs or not?
Well, we can't change the APIs, right? I mean, what are we going to do?
We can add to it.
Oh, do we have that currently? No.
Currently, we
No.
have forces, right? Saying now that you have to have force flags to get the same behavior.
Right. If you look at the code behind the API, it's adding the force flag.
You can
True.
see that the internal.
The internals of it. So that's why I started scratching my head about it.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be, so, I'll just point it out, it doesn't have to be the next major version. It could be with micro versions.
That's true.
Still a cost there, though, if I want to get new features.
I think doing it with micro version.
Yeah, but it makes it should be the same as V2.
Well, so,
Wasn't the whole theory of microversions says that we're not going to have another major version?
that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
There would be only the one
change version, which is what we discussed, just to have the new
And
URL.
if I have to change my client a million times to get this new
I
feature 10
personally-
versions ahead.
I see the point of doing that, but that's kind of what we decided was to make it explicit that you're now using microversions.
This is why I hate the term microversion to begin with. We don't even care about microversions. We just care about versions. Right?
Right. How about minor versions? Is that better semantics?
No, I just call it versions.
The only explicit thing about microversion version is dropping small problems.
Which we'll be doing.
So do we need to collect up a list somewhere of things to fix if we're going to change it on the API stuff?
I think that would be cool if we started getting it.
That'd be nice to get that captured somewhere.
We have a lot of know with the Cinder APIs that we would like to fix.
I think that would be badly. Because I mean, if you do a Cinder help right now, you look, it's a little overwhelming.
It's way
I
overwhelming.
mean, and then the reset state stuff is the other one they go through. We specifically put that in there for a case to fix volumes that were stuck in a state. And then the next thing you know, everything has a reset state. Every resource is.
And most of them are broken from most use cases.
Yeah.
I hate that reset state because it doesn't do what most users think it does. The number of bug reports I've dealt with over that, it even outgoes multi-attach, and I didn't think that'd be possible having seen a multi-attach thing. But yeah, everybody thinks reset state is the right thing to fix whatever their current condition is. And it's,
Oh, it says attached. Let's send it to a vendor.
yes.
The other thing is, if nothing else, change it and specify the resource in the call. Instead of having a separate API call for every resource. Because it's just kind of silly.
Or should this list live, keep it back? I'll just create a problem with it.
Yeah.
Josh Carlos, just you walking around in 360 degree.
Stand
Or if you're on.
We might have put it on an oscillating band.
It'll follow whoever's back.
What could possibly go wrong with that?
We have a common sense that's supposed to do that.
No corrections in their heads.
Actually kind of creepy, sitting in our
Black flies everywhere.
And yeah, stop cameras and it just goes online.
Yeah, it's got two cameras in the one.
It's a big drone is coming from Blake. Drones are Kingston knives for
Yeah. But it's not turned on the API, just things like passing or hosting, studio ID or attach.
Like,
Which I just,
yeah.
but I made my test.
In the warehouse, look up and look at the fan. It looks like uncomfortably and like you could.
I got all.
what?
Okay. Wait a minute.
What did I do? I don't know if the whole SDS discussion just took it out of me. Sorry.
You get one a day, is that it?
Yeah.
Almost at 6 p.m. So
All right.
they can do a day today.
Quote us again. RM-RF.
No, the third bullet item under consistency group. Consistency group quotas need to be exposed.
Does it quota on the number of CGs?
There's no you can change that to the no, it's not when I would have to add a quota, it's just a simple quota. So basically you can just have it.
You can't adjust, you can't change, there's a default quota of what, 10 and that's it. You can't change it, you can't.
So I think it makes sense
Look at 10 consistency groups.
These are working with the standard quota machinery that we've got.
No, this is the, remember this is the quota thing, this is just teaching, right? It's not tied to what, just a very simple thing.
Yeah, but we've got quota machinery where you can set arbitrary quotas.
You can set it, like, so there's no additional guys to change that.
But why is it the standard quota thing? Like when you set quota, you press the name of the quota you're changing.
I'll take a look at that. I think it's part of this when you play this.
It looks like the bug looks like it's talking about Cinder client doesn't have it to pass through to the port A.
So for consistency quotas, if you're going to create one, you have to pass that quota and quota for all volumes you're creating.
No, the volume is not.
But it still checks the regular volume.
You do it when you create when you add volume to the CG. You do it.
Yeah, that is.
The quota is a source.
Yeah, but this is separate. This is separate for just.
It's for the number of groups you have. The volume given also the number of volumes both.
And the next one is just I don't think we talk about the next one.
Yeah, it seems pretty strict.
Next one we'll talk about it.
So I'm not sure, but I think you did around as well.
Just maybe.
Maybe not necessarily worse than they are.
True. Yes.
So what were
So moving on to the last bullet, or?
This, it's a bug, there's nothing. Right. So that's what she said.
I think so. Jake, did you say this last one was?
That's what we
Okay. There's, okay, nothing to go over.
Yeah, I think Alex just wanted to document the
Oh, okay.
consistency group things.
Okay. Good. All right, moving on.
So we don't have a quota for CG I don't add that. Somebody added it.
Yeah, I put it in there. I'm trying to remember how it works. Isn't there a CG snapshot resource there?
I'm sorry?
There's the CG snapshot resource, right?
It is, yes. But you can add quota to the element. Once we add quota, we add,
Yeah.
so we have special quota that's there.
That is that.
But not, we don't have a special quota. I don't. We'll have a.
Wait for use case. If nobody's given a use case, then does it?
We already have a group quota. The snapshot quota should be quota.
It'll use up your volume snapshot quota.
There's a CG snaps, regular snaps, so is that how it's implemented? So it'll count against that quota?
Well, no. The snaps will be separate. Snaps quota will work as a snaps quota. It's not counted as CG.
But if I've got a volume with a CG with 10 volumes in it, there's a normal snapshot photo of 20. When I snapshot that CG, take 10 off my photo, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. Good.
Okay.
But that really depends on the driver.
Yep.
We do have a each volume when you take a snapshot of the CG is also a snapshot entry related with personality that you may not using individually that is there.
So traditionally, regardless of what the back end does, we always just
we have to.
treat it as automated.
Yeah, we just keep fluctuating.
Which I think is the only sane way to do it.
No, I was just trying to make sure there would be drivers where you did a CG snapshot, you ended up with it creating regular snapshots on the back end that got double counted.
Oh, so now that actually, that is a problem.
But
What?
Seven will not do that, they know, Seven knows there is
Some,
a record.
with some drivers, there may not be a difference.
Yeah, but you get it, but it takes a quote, it takes a quote anyway. If
You know, I understand, I'm just saying, in answer to Eric's question.
I don't understand how we can get double counted.
Well,
When you create a CG snapshot and then you run an ordinary snapshot list.
Yes.
Yeah, you see all those snapshots.
You should be charged for that.
Yeah. So it can be worth it.
I just want to raise the question
The
because
focus of it not done in the driveway, it's going to manage it, and manager will take the volume of snapshot out of photo, independent of what the
Should be
should
known. Yes, and the API says higher level.
It's reserved from the API and made it the driver, because.
Correct.
Okay.
if your backend entity for a CG snapshot is different than a snapshot, like they're totally different things, you may have a need to limit the number of CG snapshots. However, if nobody has that limit, let's not worry about it.
Wait for the use case.
Yeah, exactly.
If somebody's got a strong use case, well, we can add it later. Well, no, keep saying no, we need a better use case until they go away.
No, I was actually saying the opposite. Why like that? What I was saying was, there's all these weird little things that people keep bringing up. Well, we'll deal with it. Oh, what I'd rather say is, okay, this obviously maybe isn't the best thing to have. Maybe we should reinvestigate how we're doing it. We shouldn't pile on.
Well, I think bringing it up, like this example, I brought it up in case somebody knew an obvious use case, but if nobody knows it.
Yeah, I know. I think it's great to bring it up.
I think the first question for every new thing we add now is what's the use case? And is it strong? Because if it's not strong, let's not add it.
Yeah,
or everything.
You know how we all are. My use case, yes, of course it's strong. You'll be the same way. Well, I have usually customers, and this is what they do, and this is what they want. I mean,
But at least making people articulate that is a good start. Because
yeah.
We've had loads of people trying to add things, but we have this shiny thing. Why? Because it's shiny.
Yeah. But we do that. We require it in the specs.
A lot of aspects, the use case is the operator might want to. And I've started to push back on the specs of the townhouse. Like, why exactly would the operator want to do this?
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, Eric is better, but he's good as me.
Operators. What's the
But why do operators want to do that? That's dumb. Operators want ponies, they're not having. Are we happy?
Yeah, I think
We can IRC cloud.
yeah.
Can we can IRC cloud?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So 10 to 5. I think most of the other topics require other people or would be better in a group. Seems like the energy in the room is kind of dying down a little anyway. Should we call it a day? And
Sounds like fun.
We need that before dinner.
Yeah. So tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock is when we agreed to sync up with Nova. So if people can try to be here ready by 9, it'll be later in the day for them. They're in Bristol.
Yeah.
We have HA tomorrow morning too. We have HA for tomorrow morning too.
Oh, well, we push it out from today. The gal wasn't here, but Gorka should be okay if we do it at 10.
I think I put it after.
It's like 3.
Is it? Let's see.
No, I pushed that to Thursday morning. Or no, that's skills and life. Okay, yeah, we have to take it.
I think Gorka and see if he's going to be around. It'd be only 3 o'clock, I think.
If we have to push it to Thursday morning. Yeah.
What is it?
IRC, cloud.
That is annoying.
God, I hope so.
Angry elephant.
It's,
There's a mute.
underneath the notification, I gotta stop getting the notifications.